Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, March 15th, 2024. Who would have thought it took so long for 2 o'clock Pacific, 10 or 9 p.m. London Standard Time? Takes to happen, my friends. Yes, I know we're a little bit late today, but I tell you, we got a lot of great stuff to talk about today, and boy, I can't wait to get to it, my friends. On that note, let me go ahead and jump into the audience. And Ashley, I know you're watching. We miss you, girl. If someone said something wrong last night, I apologize. Don't let that get you down, my. On that note, let's go ahead and get going. Where did I hide the audience? They were here somewhere. Oh, it's one of those days, Alice. It's one of those days. Let me go ahead and figure out where in the heck. Yeah, Alice is here, actually. Let me see if I can find out where I've got that. Oh, there's the chat. We already had a super chat coming from Eli McGinnis. Thank you very much. And I should have one more window here that should say social stream dashboard. There it is. We got it, friends. On that note, let's go ahead. Before we get started, yes, we just got a super chat that came in. Believe it or not, two of them. Well, one of them coming in from Eli McGinnis. Holy cow, for $2.99. Thank you very much, Eli. We appreciate your love and support for everything we do here. On that note, let me go ahead and get this show rolling. Rolling. All right, not raw high, but let's make it happen. Participants, I got it. Let's strike up the drums. There. And let's see who in the heck we have in our audience. All right, let's take a look and see. We have $70 million Man X is here for the start of the show, along with Amiga Rules and Andy W. We've got Anonymous Rex, the researcher, the man, the legend, Tim Senor, all the way from Oregon. Billy Boo's here, along with Brian Pemble out in the chat. Brian, you should join us, my friend. We've got Kat Charmanium, also known as Teresa's here, along with Craig Smith. We've got Creativity from the Future. I love it. What kind of creativity would we have in the future? That's a question for us all to have. Let's see what else we have here. We got Dana Scully, Destiny Rocks, Ian Tate, Phantomas Phanto, Firefly, Gundamson. How about that? J-Cat's here along with Jody O'Rourke, John Myatt Lockett. I see J-Cat here, just popped in along with Jan. Good to see you, Jan, as always. We got Jody O'Rourke, John Myatt Lockett, Joseph Ferrantino, Kathy, Katie and Kelly Brote with those piercing blue eyes. Love you, Kelly. We got Martine Unprepared along with Metal Gaming. Mick Mix here and along with Mr. Catfish 2100 and Ms. Cuss Out. How about that? I see Necessary Dialogue along with our own Pitbull, also known as Niles Guy. Randoms here along with Roland and Sam Wallace and Shinobi One Kenobi. I love that name. Got to thank Steve Hines for showing up along with the Chromosome Cowboy and the Corn 405 and the G5 Studio. The Thes are here. We got 3 of them in a row. Tom Clark's here along with Two Heads 666 and 2 Midgets on a Horse. Good to see you back, my friend. Got to welcome back Woody Clar and, of course, Yankee 58. On that note, let me go ahead and jump to it. Let's go ahead and welcome in our back panel because you know what? The back chat is where it's at. Remember, this is the only UFO show out there that actually has an open call-in line for anyone in the audience to go ahead and join us, to be part of the show, to go ahead and comment on what we're talking about, or to bring new story material for us. So or to have your personal stories, for that matter. Let's go ahead and see who we have back there right now. All right, our first person in the back today, coming to us, where can I not read? Coming to us from the great state of Florida, let's welcome in Alice. How's it going, Alice?
Hey, Thomas, it's going great. Looking forward to this show.
Thank you, my dear lady. I'm looking forward to it as well. Hopefully it goes well. Our next friend is coming to us from the United Kingdom, the great city of Bristol. Let's welcome in Andy W. How's it going, Andy?
Yeah, not bad, Thomas. Yeah, nice early show for everybody here in the UK and a bit earlier for all the our American friends. I've got you probably can't see, but I've got Corey and Peanut, 2 of my daughters' cuddlies.
Oh,
there we go.
how cute.
Like cuddly sidekicks. There we go.
Oh, very cute. It's a camel.
I think, no, two capybaras.
Capybara. All very nice.
Welcome to my life, a house full of cuddly toys.
Oh, trust me, I've got a bunch of cuddly toys around here. I've got a frog. I can't see it because it's green. Some other kind of little green creature here, which you can't see.
Ghostly green.
A donkey. I've got a lion.
Wait, mine don't squeak.
Yes. But he has plenty of dog toys, and hopefully all your dogs out there watching have heard the squeaks and are like, where's the toy? Where's the toy? Thank you for coming in, my friend. Putting our sights on the great state of Indiana, not Idaho. Indiana, we can call him a Hoosier because he probably is. Let's welcome in our dear friend, Daryl Zernick. How's it going, Daryl?
Definitely a Hoosier. Happy Saturday, everybody, and very much looking forward to the show. Thank you.
If you got it, drink it, my friends. All right, let's move on. Put our sights on the great state of Texas, where our next panelist is coming to us from. Let's welcome in our very own Ed Brown. How's it going, Ed?
It's going well, Thomas. Good to be with you today. I don't have anything green to squeeze, but I'm sure looking forward to the show.
Well, hopefully you got something to squeeze. Let's welcome in our next friend, coming to us from the great state of Wisconsin, Laura Campbell. How's it going, Laura? You are our resident remote viewing targeter. Actually, remote viewer yourself these days, sounds like.
No, I don't do that. Just get psychic impressions, that's all.
There you go.
Totally different skill. I don't have anything other than a little dragon to show you today.
Oh, very
those
nice.
Articulated dragons.
Oh, looks very cool. Did you make that?
Yeah. Oh, no. These are those. They're done on the computer.
Oh, 3D printed.
Put little plastic in, and then
Very cool.
Fun.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing, Laura. Great to have you around. Our next guest comes to us from the province in Canada where all the U's are silent and they still like Americans. Let's welcome in Michael Sokoloff. How's it going, Michael?
Doing good, Thomas. How are you?
All doing well. You know, the people of the countries love each other. Granted, some people in leadership positions may not get along, but you know what? That's why we have to go ahead and bridge the border.
Well, hopefully they'll get it all sorted out before Christmas.
Yeah. Let's hope so. Hopefully sooner than that. My God. What a mess.
Yeah, sooner.
Our next friend's coming to us all the way from the great state of Massachusetts. Let's welcome in Sergeant Daniel, USMC retired. How's it going, Daniel?
Outstanding. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it as well, my friend. And then our final guest is coming to us all the way from the great state of New York. Let's welcome in Tia Marie. How's it going, Tia?
Hey, Thomas. Excited to be here. Can't wait to see what you got in store.
Yeah, can't wait to see what I've got in store as well. There we go. We'll get that fixed. Wonderful to have you here anyway, my dear lady. And we've got our guest here. Hopefully he's around. It looks like he is. Let's welcome in our dear friend, Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's going. One of those days, Thomas. And we do have a lot to cover today for the audience. It's going to be a fun show. Good conversation.
You think?
I'm looking forward to it as well. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I certainly hope so, my friend. I certainly hope. Yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of things going on. Yes, if I go ahead and look at that title card, where the hell am I? Let's find it again here. Oh, yeah, there it is. We're talking about crowdfunding UFO research. Yes, Mike, we did go ahead and cover how the Soul Foundation is now extending the ability for people to have memberships, which gives members priority access to their events and such. It's a great way for people to go ahead and support the organization that they love. But it seemed like a backward approach that kind of went on, where we've got it going.
But I also know that we have a pretty interesting explanation coming from Matt Ford.
Oh, yeah.
I think the audience would like to hear.
Oh, gosh, yes. I was just trying to doing the
segue
the intro to prepare the audience for the story we're going down. Yes, having the opportunity to go ahead and do research. And when you go ahead and, as an organization, ask for money, the best thing you want to do about that first, Mike, is set the case before you ask.
Right. Obviously. Common sense, though, Thomas.
Yeah, I know. A lot of things these days aren't necessarily common sense, but you know what? At least we try to point it out and have a fun time talking about it in the meantime. Let me go ahead and get up. We've got a interview with Matt Ford over at Vinny at Disclosure team, which we have an arrangement with to go ahead and play their content and such. So we're going to jump into this riveting conversation between Vinny and Matt Ford. In the first section we're going to listen to, Mike, is going to be talking about the Sol Foundation membership. Let's go ahead and bring this up and see where it goes. Here we go, folks. Let me go ahead and get down to here. Video full. So, all right, let's go ahead and bring it down a little bit lower, and let's play this clip. Make sure I've got it set for an 1080p premium. Here we go.
Sure. Well, I wanted to move on because, you know, we've got a lot of organizations as well in this field, and the Sol Foundation, headed by Peter Scarfish and Dr. Gary Nolan, have just recently announced this new membership subscription, let's say, this monthly or annual thing, and it's caused a bit of a mixed reactions, let's say, within the community. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, because, you know,
yeah, we kind of had some interesting reactions from our audience last night.
Yeah, I remember. For good reason, though, Thomas.
Yeah, I know. Continue on.
We're talking of some pretty big numbers here, starting from around, I think, $35, $350 a year, up to sort of $25,000 a year. So obviously, a lot of people straight away, especially some of the naysayers, will just say this is pay-to-play disclosure. How do you see it?
Oh, we don't call it pay-to-play disclosure, Mike. We call it dollars for disclosure.
Oh, exactly. Like any good grift out there, or money grab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Disclosure for dollars. I like that.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but it does sound like the organization is in need of funding. And it would have been interesting, per se, to go ahead and bring out that info ahead of time saying, hey, these are all the things we're trying to do. This is what we're estimating it's going to cost us. We're going to try a fundraising drive to try and go ahead and get it. Now, you can go ahead and just give us your money, or you can go ahead and pay a monthly fee, and out of it, these are the benefits you're going to get. And this is where your hard-earned money is going to go to, right? Almost like you'd have a telethon, almost like, oh, remember the big phone home? But all that money went to Lou Jimenez. But the money in this money isn't going to go necessarily to Matt Ford or the Sol Foundation individuals, but it's for research. And I get it. Research in this field is ultimately as necessary, especially if you don't have billionaire benefactors. Wait, they do. Peter Scafish behind the stuff, or they need to find more. It's interesting that they're going to the bottom all the way to the top, if not higher. Great idea. But it comes down to strategy and prefacing stuff before you get there. Let's continue. And I know we're critiquing this, but that's what we do. We look at stuff and we talk about it. And if we were running the organization or had our fingers in anything from an operations standpoint, that's the kind of stuff you do. Even like talking about Carl Nell when he left, which there's a little note about it, but that's something as an organization. If you have people leaving the organization, joining the organization, you have simple operational procedures you go through for public engagement. Continue.
Have absolutely zero problem with what the Sol Foundation is doing, what Dr. Gary Nolan is doing, what Dr. Peter Scafish is doing. The fact of the matter and the reality of the world is that things cost money. It doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit or a for-profit. I'm the director of strategy for the UAP Disclosure Fund, and I can tell you these organizations, they cost money to operate. You have insurance, all of these kinds of...
Right, but Mike, again, would be great if these are costs and things that are going on, since they are not, well, Sol Foundation is a nonprofit. Put your books out there. Show the stuff where they're at, right?
Exactly. But it doesn't seem to me so far that they have an agenda, they have a game plan, or they have anything that they want to put out there publicly. You know, it's pretty interesting because for an organization that's supposed to be all about truth and transparency, they don't seem to be too transparent at the moment.
Well, it could be you've got a lot of science people and different people in there, and you don't have someone who's there at the helm or in a capacity to go ahead and realize, wow, we've got to have public outreach. We've got to connect with them. We've got to inform them. What's our goal? How are we going to be able to move all these people from one particular area to the other to enable us to move forward? And I think it's a communication problem is what it sounds like.
It sounds more to me like more than just a communication problem. Sounds like an organization problem, a structure problem.
Well, it's a communication problem coming out of the lack of structure, if you want to call it, in the organization. Let's listen.
Or leadership, or just a general agenda of what they're trying to do. Any of that.
We got it, buddy. It's just, and hopefully if they can get past these points and learn from it, stuff like this won't happen again in the future. Because it's just, seriously, it's a big miscommunication problem. Let's see where Matt tries to lead us on this one. And well, actually, we do have a couple people in the back with their hands up already. Andy W., go ahead.
Yeah, I just wonder how they've actually priced up their tier pricing for this. Tier 1, what was it? I think it started at
$35 a month, or $350 a year.
That's not a massive amount of money. Obviously what you get out of it, but up to the top tier, which was what, $25,000 a year.
Yep.
It's a heck of a jump. It's almost like the lottery prices in here. For the winnings, your first amount of numbers get this amount of numbers, and then all of a sudden it jumps at there's 4 million or 10 million, right, or at the top end. I can't see how they stick a load of numbers in a hat and draw out. We're going to charge people this for tier 1, or we'll charge this for tier 4.
I have
I can't really sort of work out. And tier 1 might be worth the money. I'm certainly not paying £25,000 or dollars a year for. I don't earn that basically, so I just really sort of. Are they expecting to get a lot of people funding this? I'm not sure they're going to get very many at all.
I mean, if you're going to do something like this, you say for the first 100 or first 1,000 people, not only are you going to get this, but we're going to give you a special extra prize of X. And do the enticement, do the thing out there, and then go ahead and do a referral program and other stuff for people, to work with people in the community to go ahead and encourage others and put a code in. And if someone gets so many codes put in, they also get a certain particular thing coming out of it. It's just a way of working through membership, because I get the whole idea of membership. I mean, a lot of wholesale clubs out there, they have memberships to get in the door. And that's what we're kind of talking about, a membership with benefits.
Yeah, and it's not really a lot of carrot being dangled on the end of a stick to actually to draw people in. So I don't know how much actually they'll gain from doing this.
Well, time will tell, won't it?
Yep.
And the other thing is you show how many paid memberships in the different tiers we've gotten. Broadcast, make it feel live, make it feel like it's interactive. Let's go on to Michael Sukloff next. Michael?
Yeah, if they're a nonprofit organization, are they not required by law to give a financial report at least once a year?
Yeah, of course. Whether they're a 501c3, which is what the Soul Foundation is, and all your donations are taxed, you can write them off up to a certain amount every year. Or in the case of like Matt Ford with the UAP Disclosure Fund, that's a 501c4, and any of the money that goes into that organization cannot be written off. So this may put the Soul Foundation in a better light to get money out of people's pocket, because hey, you pay $350 for a year into Soul Foundation for the average person, you actually get to go ahead and take that off your income at the end of the year. Granted, it's not a 1-for-1, your money is still coming out of your pocket, but at least you're not taxed on it.
So are they also not required to provide a membership list?
I don't know. Good question. Depending on depends on how much transparency they bring, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on next.
Transparency.
No. Hey, that's what we're asking for. We're asking for transparency in UFOs from the government. And if there's going to be an organization who's asking for money for UFO research, we deserve the transparency, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Let's move on next to Ed Brown. Ed, my friend.
Well,
what
I would
say you?
say the majority of those people that give in that high bracket aren't looking for something in return. They're supporting because they believe in the organization and what it's doing. And, that's not uncommon among nonprofits. I was very involved with the Boy Scouts for many years. It was not uncommon for me to give $1,000 to get a patch or to get a coffee mug. You could come back and argue, well, that was worth $3. Is that all they gave you? And it's like, that's all they gave me. That's all I wanted. I just really wanted to help the organization. And I would think that's the case with the Soul Foundation, particularly in those larger donation categories, someone that wants to help.
Yeah, I hear you, my friend. I have to agree with you 100%. On that note, let's go ahead and move along in this video.
Of miscellaneous costs. And I think it is unfair to throw shade on the Soul Foundation. As I understand it, and I haven't looked at these tiers, but they have everything. I think, as you mentioned, from a very low entry point up to very, very high. All of these organizations, they cost money to run. We do not live in a free world. I think for some reason, a lot of people sort of expect that if you are pursuing or working on like a topic that you're passionate about, and that you put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into, that there's this expectation that it should be done for free. And that is an unfair expectation in my view. I've known Dr. Gary Nolan.
Now, when I have to bring this up, I was involved with earlier in my career, I was involved with a nonprofit organization called the Resource Center for the Elderly. And we were building a data system at that time to go ahead and take all the data from different databases and such, and make it where you could have it if an elderly person called and they wanted to find what benefits are available for them based on their address. This is like back in, late 80s at this point. A lot of our technologies we have today are taken for granted. We have to be able to find out what was their township they're in, what city are they in, if they are, what county are they in. We know what state they're in, and based on all these different potential borders of where they're at, there are a bunch of services that are available for them. The difference is, in that particular organization, they reached out to large benefactors to get the funding, to pay the money for the staff and such, but the people who are there calling in for the needs, the elderly, they weren't charged anything because it was a service that was put forward to them. Granted, every 501c3 you deal with has a different way, a different accounting method of how they're going to go ahead and pay the bills. But I think that just comes down to strategy and overall operational procedures of how the organization is run. And it's funded, because is what Matt is saying, is if you don't fund something, you're never going to be able to have something. So it kind of one hand washes the other, or is what sleight of hand kind of a thing. Let's move on.
For 3+ years now, Dr. Skafish, I've had on my show a couple of times. Don't know him really well, but have had really great conversations. And I can tell you that these guys are pursuing this for disclosure, to move this topic forward. But just because I think I saw some comment that said, it's two rich white guys asking for more money. I mean, that is just the most asinine reply that I can possibly think of. It doesn't matter,
While it's asinine, it's accurate. Hate to say it. Sometimes people are going to say what they're going to say, and you can go ahead and be very critical of people for what they're saying, but sometimes there's a there.
So your time is valuable, and it doesn't matter if you got $1 million or whatever. Time is money, and there is nothing wrong with.
Didn't Matt Ford in the past bring up and say that he was demanding super chats from his audience because he needs the money?
Oh, he did. Absolutely. Made a public appeal. Said that he really enjoys his work and would love to do it full time. And the only thing is, he's not getting paid.
Yeah.
So if his audience would be willing to contribute and be able to pay him a fat paycheck to do what he loves to do full time, that's ideally what he would like. So we know that he's an advocate for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, the flaw that I find in the logic that he's using is, so far, the Soul Foundation, other than the conferences that they've had, other than the presentations that they put out there, what actual work have they done? How have they actually moved the needle on disclosure? So far to date, not that I can see.
Well, they've had the videos come out. They've had their Soul symposiums and stuff. But I know when they had the first Soul symposium and they were having a hard time getting the video to be brought together, there were tons of people out there all volunteering their time to be able to work with the Soul Foundation to go ahead and take the video that they were having audio sync issues because the audio was on one separate track and they had all these different video tracks and they had different problems lining everything up and everything, which is just a logistics nightmare. And it took a long time. But when you have an organization like a nonprofit, not only do you have to go ahead and look for money, Mike, you also have to go ahead and look for volunteers. Because when I was at the Resource Center for the Elderly, our receptionists and different people we had in the office, they were all retired elderly women who were out there and they were healthy and they loved what they were doing. And they volunteered their time to the organization on a daily basis. So it's not just about saying, hey, we need money for this and here's why. But a lot of times you can take the need for money and augment it with volunteers.
Well, like you just pointed out, we now know that the Soul Foundation has mostly been operating from the work of volunteers. And that's how they've covered a lot of what they've done so far to date. But
well,
like
that's
you
what
just
happened
pointed
for the first Soul conference. I don't know, and it wasn't really communicated out about what they did for the second Soul conference. And here's the thing, we haven't seen the books for the Soul Foundation yet, so we don't know where the money, how much is coming in, and what's been spent.
Right. But they have no agenda. They have no product that they could try to sell to the audience. They're just offering, what was it? A hoodie with the logo for Soul?
For the $350 a year, you get a t-shirt, a pen, and something else. For, I believe it was what was it? $2,500 a year, was it? I think is the next one up. That's where they give you a hoodie, Mike.
That's a pretty goddamn expensive hoodie, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, you think if they're going to be having those objects and they need money, merch, sell merchandise, right?
Well, we covered that when we were talking about this last night. You said that all of the tiers, I would imagine, provides for you exclusive opportunity to buy merch from them. If you remember, that was in there. You can buy exclusive merchandise directly from the Soul Foundation.
Well, I'm just talking for the general public. You shouldn't have to be a supporter of them to buy merchandising. Now, if you had it where if you go ahead and say, okay, if you're a member, you can go ahead and get merchandising you can get our Soul Foundation swag or 25% off or whatever they would offer to people because they're already funding the Soul Foundation. And you could have exclusive designs available for people who are funders. But for everybody else who wants to have Soul Foundation merch, you have it. Even UFO Man had a ton of merch.
Right. That they're not having a organized approach to trying to do a money grab from the public. They're basically just putting out there, just send us money. That's it. That's all you get.
Well, people are getting memberships, and there are some things for it, but it's just you have to look at all the pillars of support and be able to hit every single one of them, even if one of them will only give you, let's say, 10 or 15% of your operating revenue you need, or even 10%. That's still 10% more that you would have had if you didn't do it. Andy.
Yeah, when they've held their conferences, I know it's been by invite only, but have they actually ticketed an entry fee?
Well, at the $350, if you want to call it, starting, you'll get a notification in priority access to them, but everyone above you is going to get access. So for the $350 a month, no, that does not entitle you to attend the Soul Conference as part of your membership.
So they've potentially been running conferences where they've had to, where they've had to hire a venue and catering and the usual thing that goes on at these events. So are they doing this at a loss at the moment? And they've suddenly found out, well, we actually need to recap some money. Kind of makes you think.
We haven't seen the books.
And yeah. So it's certainly they're very it's good that they're trying to do this stuff, but if it's being done on a shoestring at the moment, if a lot of the people who are working and are donating their time, there's not a lot of actual financial input needing to be put in, I would have expected.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good point, Andy. Absolutely. Let's go ahead. And it's just, I guess time will go on. Hopefully they'll start learning this stuff kind of along the way, and it'll get better over time with proper messaging and communication. Fingers crossed. Because it's going to, if they're really counting on this to help fund the organization, there's got to be a serious effort to promote it and get it out there. Let's continue on.
Your costs or compensation. I have no idea if that's what it's for, but these organizations, they cost.
Oh, compensation. Oh, and including pay, that means for people.
You caught that, right?
Of course.
That's a key thought, right? That's what this is about.
Well,
that's my point.
As far as I understand, although Lou is a part of Soul Foundation and part of UAPDF, Lou does not accept any compensation, does he?
No, he does not.
And he does this stuff full time.
Right. So he's not getting paid. But it's interesting how it was pointed out that, this money could be used for compensation. Of course it would be. No shit, Sherlock.
Yeah.
That's what people are upset about.
Well, compensation can also be, we need to fly a bunch of people out to New York, to Washington, D.C. So we have to go ahead and pay for all the flights to D.C. I'd love to see all loose flights paid for going back and forth. And then they have to stay somewhere at a hotel in D.C. And then they have to be fed 3 meals a day when they're in D.C. All that money quickly adds up, doesn't it?
Because do you know how expensive everything in D.C. is? I do.
Oh, yeah.
It's an arm and a leg. So, but no, the term that would be used for what you just described would be expenses.
Right.
Compensation is direct payment to individuals. There's a difference.
Right. It's above and beyond.
Right. It really is. It's insulting, to be honest with you, in my opinion.
All right, let's continue.
But let's listen further to the video.
Yeah.
A lot of money. Research costs a lot of money. Just the material costs in these things. It's like everything in life. There is nothing for free. And in terms of the tier structure, again, the way the world works is people expect some kind of value for the money that they put in. So if you've got a $35 a year or month tier or whatever it is, and again, I don't know what
$35 a month or $350 a year if you pay up front.
What these tiers are, and then you've got, we'll say, a $10,000 tier, and then we'll say you got a $20,000 tier. For those tiers, you need to be able to.
Just to be clear, just to give specifics, since Matt does not have them, let's go ahead and bring it up. We showed this last night on last night's show from the membership page. Their tiers are $350 a year or $35 a month for tier 1. That gives you the sweat. That gives you t-shirt. Then you've got the next tier, which is $250 a month or $2,500 a year. That's the next tier up there. Tier 3 is $500 a month or $5,000 a year. And tier 4, of course, is $2,500 a month or $25,000 a year. So 4 tiers from $25,000 a year to $5,000 to $2,500 to $350. There you go. There's your 4 tiers. And yes, you do get a merchandising for your $350 a year. You get a cotton shopping bag or a t-shirt with a pen and a sticker.
Oh my God.
I know, but it was worth it to the audience since it's being talked about. Let's be clear about what the tiers are, right? Here we go.
Provide something of value to those people that are paying for those higher tiers. So if the $35 tier gets all of the same things that are offered at the $10,000 and $20,000 tier.
Oh, but that's not the case. That is not.
You know, if you're going and you're looking at what tier you're going to sign up for, and let's say you've got a lot of money, you're a millionaire or whatever, but you're, you know, at the end of the day, you're a businessman and you are a woman and you want value for your money. If you look at three separate tiers and they all are giving you the exact same thing, you're gonna pick the cheaper tier because it's like, well, you know, why should I pay $20,000 a year if I'm getting if I can get the exact same thing and only pay $35 a year? It's in my view, it's just completely ridiculous. Now, if this were data from the government that our taxpayer dollars paid for the research, paid for the studies, paid for the sensors or whatever, and paid for the labor to create reports and collate data and all that, then that's a different story because your tax, which is, you know, we all should have access to this data that the government has been collecting for, you know, for decades now. But when you have an organization like the Soul Foundation that is doing serious work, that they are doing this for the purpose of moving this forward, there is absolutely no reason why they should not be charging for those tiers, in my view.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think what the Soul Foundation have done here is that they've appealed to kind of everyone here. We have that $35 per month, which kind of would appeal maybe more to the average man or woman, let's say, right up to these, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, which would be more of an investor or a multimillionaire maybe. And the tiers do kind of represent the value. You know, we've got the top tier offering, you know, almost some meetings and influence, let's say, on some of the work that the Soul Foundation does. And I think ultimately as well is the people that say it's pay to play disclosure. Once this research is done, it doesn't just get released to the people in the membership, it gets released to the public. So all in all,
you know, Mike, I wouldn't call this, again, pay for play disclosure. I would call it dollars for disclosure, kind of what it's at.
Yeah, that's because that's exactly what it is. Otherwise known in the vernacular as a money grab.
Well, and if it is a true 501c3 organization, it just comes out to say, we have a funding deficit. To address this funding deficit, we are going to include memberships now for a bunch of people, depending on where they financially sit, to go ahead and support us with a tax-deductible donation to us. And you get some benefits and stuff that come out of it, but it just, again, the key to this is messaging. Why do you need the money? Why are we asking for the money? How did we arrive at this decision? What are we going to go ahead and do with this money, et cetera? So, and it's no difference, because it's like you've got Richard Dolan, Intelligent Disclosure. A lot of people, you want to get access to Richard and a bunch of oter people, they charge $8.99 a month. Not that much, $9. You know, and right. you do get a discount. And there are a lot of places, even MUFON these days charges for a monthly access if you want to get access to their full data. It's commonplace in a lot of different ways now, and so it's just coming down to communication, messaging, and what kind of an impact that this funding can do for the organization. Besides compensation, of course.
winner at the end of the day. I guess it's more of like the funding for that research to be done in the first instance. So again, I agree with you. I think it's nothing but a positive, and I wish Gary and Peter all of the best. And funnily enough, I think about 15 minutes before we recorded this interview, Gary had tweeted that they've had a very positive and strong reception to the memberships and everything. So that just goes to show.
Strong.
Yeah, 100%. I 100%.
Okay, strong. Say how many memberships we've gotten. We've had a strong thing. We've had 500 memberships. We're on a membership drive. We want to get up to so many memberships in these particular tiers. Run it like a telethon. My God, Mike, it's like they need to bring back Lou Jimenez in his big phone home, because he was very influential back in the day and got a lot of people excited about this and to come in for something.
Right, or Jerry Lewis telethon or anything organized like that.
Yeah.
But they are not being specific about anything that they're doing, what they're providing for the public for those price points. And basically, they just want you to sign up blind, give them the money, and not ask any questions or receive anything in exchange for that. That's what I'm picking up on. I don't see anything beyond that. So I find that highly suspicious at this point.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, Mike. Let's get to the last bit of this clip. Again, it's messaging, it's communication, it's about accountability for what they're saying and how the money is being spent. It's a 501c3. You need to have an executive director over that organization that can leave it. You need to have a board that can be there. You need to have a chairman of the board who can rally things up and make decisions. Again, people from different walks of life and experience, especially in nonprofits, not just corporate law or bookkeeping or anything. It all kind of circles around, well.
Yeah, exactly. But let's play the last end of this clip.
Oh, here we go. It all kind of circles around toilet bowl at times, Mike.
Which ends up where, Thomas? Oh, that's right. Right into the sewer, which we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, and the sewers are everywhere, and the sewers are worse than a swamp because the sewers are filled with shit.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Here we go.
100% back to Soul Foundation. I back Gary Nolan,
also
Peter Skafish. These guys, they're doing great work. They've assembled an incredible team at the Soul Foundation, and in my view, I think they should have probably done this, a long time ago. It takes money to operate in the
Wow, it's almost like they could have had ideas like this for the UAP Disclosure Fund from the person who's the director in charge of strategy. Where has he been?
Out to lunch.
But you got to realize, though, although Matt may or may not be getting money out of the UAP Disclosure Fund, his role in the UAP Disclosure Fund is giving him access to a lot of important people that he can bring on his live stream that other people don't have, that allows him to generate revenue for himself. In other words, he still has to work for it, but it does give him access to people and information he wouldn't have if he wasn't that director of strategy, which I'd love to see his strategy for 2025 or UAPDF. Have we seen that yet, Mike?
No, because it's currently non-existent right now, Thomas.
Yeah. Ask Ivan.
Oh no, he's removed himself from that sewer already.
Oh yeah, here we go. Let's play the last of this one.
World. Nothing is free. Period. The end.
Yep.
Just like video cards, they are not free as well. All right, let's move on to our next clip here. Let's get past Jake Barber. And, this is something we brought up about Carl Nell leaving the UAP Disclosure Fund. Now, the UAP Disclosure Fund, right, did not make any mention or notice or anything about Carl Nell leaving. It all came down to people on Twitter hearing about it and spreading the news, right, Mike?
As it usually is, Thomas. That's no official announcement from them, no acknowledgement, absolutely nothing. So another black eye, and really there's no common sense there.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's hear what Matt has to say. We did cover about Carl Nell leaving. Let's hear from Matt Ford, the big mouth of UAPDF.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
But listen, you mentioned previously there Carl Nell, and correct me if I'm wrong, did he not just announce that his departure from the UAP Disclosure Fund? And if so, could you give us any sort of clarity?
Clarity, really quick. It was also noticed by some friends of mine who are a little bit older than me, and we have a keen eye for noticing changes in people. In the last 6 months or a year, Carl Nell has put on a significant amount of weight. You can see it on his face. You can see it on his hands. Potentially, I'm not going to say it as a rumor. I'm not going to say it's just an observation. He could be sick with something because remember, you have, who do you call it? King Charles, who has the sausage fingers. That's signs of him having congenital heart failure. In addition to that, he also has cancer, so he's on a lot of prednisone and stuff. So, yeah, I was on prednisone for a year and a half, several years, if not longer, and I still have a big bottle of it here to deal with long COVID that I'm still not over yet. So, yeah, it happens, but let's see where Matt takes this conversation. Let's see if it lines up with anything. Probably not what we said.
On why that may have happened.
To be honest, I don't know all of the details. He reached out to us and just said, I've got some other things going on. I don't have the bandwidth to be able to serve on the board of directors and give it the attention that it needs. And it was completely amicable. I don't know what he's up to. I've had people say, well, where is he off to? He didn't elaborate. But, I respect that. It's like, the last thing you want is somebody on your board or your advisory board for an organization that just they do not have the time to put into it. It's better to say, you know what, I've got other new commitments. And for me to stay on the board would be doing the organization a disservice. So Carl Nell, man, that guy is a true patriot. I've had lots of conversations with him. I have such a high respect for the man and what he has done for this country. And whatever he's off to, and again, he didn't share it. I know he's going to do a great job, and we certainly appreciate his contributions to UAP Disclosure Fund because he did play a significant part, and we were very, very grateful.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Absolutely. And I think, obviously the rumor mill just starts to go crazy as soon as that was made public, and, there's rumors of him just completely falling out of touch or just stepping away from this whole UAP subject or the disclosure process in general, which obviously there's no sign of that whatsoever. It's just, like you said, there's obviously commitments that can't be met, then he respects the organization. So no, I appreciate that 100%.
Yeah. And, I hope he continues to contribute, be a part of this whole movement, if you want to call that. He has a very, very valuable part to play. I would suspect that a lot of folks were hoping that the administration would be proactive in the UAP issue in terms of having a UAP czar or any sort of administrative effort to really tackle this. And I'm sure all of those guys, Lou, Dave, Carl, and lots of other folks were really hopeful that was going to be the case. I think all of us were very hopeful.
Mike, even we were helpful about this, weren't we? Thinking that there was going to be the potential for a UAP czar. Lou Elizondo even released white papers that were featured on the website over at UAP Disclosure Fund, but none of that really came together, did it?
No, it completely evaporated, which is the point that Matt Ford is making right now.
I know. I'm just kind of...
I get it. Yeah.
Circling around that same toilet bowl, my friend.
Oh, and it is a toilet bowl.
Yeah.
I agree.
Certainly, all of the signals that we had been receiving from people that were talking to the Trump transition team and whatnot, it was looking very, very good. And just the fact that Don Jr., you've got the president's son advocating for it. He did on his podcast. I mean, it was.
But it's not just Don Jr. You have the head of the CIA. You have the head of who's the director of national intelligence. You've got the the Secretary of State. You have a lot of people who are in top positions within the Trump administration who have said time and time again very positive things and demanding to bring out the truth for disclosure. So, granted, right now, I would say, all right, it's March 15th. We're halfway through March. We are in the January, February, March. We are in the end of the first quarter, almost, of the Trump administration, right? Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of things going on. Hopefully, this will not fall off the bus completely, but will be addressed in more details after they get JFK done. JFK, RFK, and MLK potentially. You know, there's supposed to be hearing on that within the next couple of weeks, isn't there, Mike?
They originally, Luna had made that point, but since we're halfway through and they haven't gotten access to any information, and she's been yelling about
we're not halfway through yet.
Media.
We're just at the frickin' steps. Now, as we said last night, are they going to be able to get through everything in 6 months? No way in fuck. No way in hell.
No, she was talking about having the hearing for JFK second and third week in March. We're there already.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Not in that time frame, obviously.
And
my point.
And how is disclosure aligning itself right now?
Okay, these fuckers have fucked my life over. Okay, these fuckers have fucked my life over. Okay, these fuckers.
That's what we're dealing with. This is how disclosure feels right now.
At least for Dan Farah. I agree.
A lot of people for that matter.
Yep.
There's a whole long spiel from this lady, and I am going to create little clips that I can go ahead and click on. Let's see if this works. Oh, is it going to work for me? Is she going to pop up and say something?
Okay, these fuckers have fucked my life over.
And it works. That's why we were late, my friends. I wanted to get that set up in the system because that's how we feel. Brian Pemble, your hand is up, my friend.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you guys are saying that, Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, and Radcliffe need to start moving on the MLK and JFK and all that stuff, because if they can't get that out, they're not going to be able to get the rest of this out, because, if their own departments are holding them back, we've got some serious bureaucratic issues.
Well, that's the thing that I hate to say it. The man around the world that all the liberals and people who love global, who want to stop the heat and cool the planet down with global warming are all after. They're all after poor Elon Musk at this point.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that ship gets righted. I hope that all gets corrected and then it all comes out. So let's say it does. The only other issue, in my opinion, that would prevent the executive branch from coming out with it really is the economy, because you got to know that they're telling them, hey, this may take an economic hit depending on the technology that comes out and all that. So we want to have to make sure that we have strong foundational underpinning of our economics, or else we could be in a coronavirus type economy for a while. So that's the only other thing that I'm worried about. But I think we've said this for a few months now. We'll look to see if the MLK and JFK stuff comes out properly. But so far, like you and Mike were saying, it's not looking good. They've got some clearing of the house to do in the DIA, CIA, FBI departments.
Yeah. It seems to be that way. We have those career bureaucrats that are in place that are aligned to the left, and they're not listening to what they're being told by their superiors, and it's just a mess all the way around. I agree with you, Brian. Sergeant Daniel, your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it takes more than just our government. This has to be. Can you think of how big this must be if there's craft crashing all over the world? There's one thing in common, and that's the craft themselves. I have a feeling, and I think that the big secret is that the UFOs, aliens, whatever they are, non-human intelligence, they're running the ship. And I think that, now that Skinwalker Ranch is starting to show some stuff actually on TV, maybe we'll get it lucky. Maybe they'll actually see something or be able to get something down, and the Soul Foundation go right out of business.
Well, let's hope the Soul Foundation is more about scientific fact and bringing it out. And we've had this stuff going on with, and if you look at the trailer for, if you want to call it Jake Barber's Skywatcher event that's going on, the amount of video production and things that are going into it and their dialogue, it really looks like they're building this and they're pitching it as a show for science, for history TV or something to that extent, and trying to get funding to go behind what they're doing beyond their funding that they're getting right now. It really has that kind of a polish and feel to it.
Really, you have, how many cell phones do you have? It would just take someone, just to accidentally be there when one went down and get a cell phone. So, really, a higher intelligence has to be covering their tracks. There's only one way that it would be the secret this long. I know it's kind of, but if they're intelligent beings, maybe they are running the ship. Maybe Obama, Obama was right. They are running things. He said that on Larry King?
Yeah.
He said to keep good control of it all. It sounds funny, but again, what's scaring the presidents from keeping everything out, out of a,
well, it sounds like a lot of times they may have not been told, and this has been again, the overall UFO cover-up has been run from the executive branch, and realize the executive branch continues from party to party, from president to president, going over time. There are all these career bureaucrats that are still there, and if they're there and part of it, and they're keeping this from the president, that is truly a problem, Daniel.
What about the Mexicans and the Brazilians and in Peru, and what's keeping all of them? Is the U.S. government paying them all that much money? They all have cell phones, and they can make $1 gazillion off of a video of a craft or a body or something. It just seems like there's something else involved keeping it secret than just the government. My thought.
Well, yeah, there's some kind of organization that's out there that's been potentially keeping this out of the public venue for some particular reason. Now, you did bring up an interesting piece about Skywatcher. There is a preview out there for the next episode of Skywatcher. Let me go ahead and bring this, and you'll see what I mean about the production value and what's been going on with Skywatcher so far. Let me go ahead and bring this one up here. Let's go ahead and play it and enjoy it. Oh, wait a second. Wrong window. This is the right window. Would not be able to hear that one. All right. So let's get this up here for our audience to go ahead and check out and see. All right, here we go. This is a preview for episode 2.
It's a game of chess, right? If this is an advanced species and is smart enough to do what it's doing, they're probing us, they have the upper hand, and we are the little ants under the magnifying glass.
Now, does that look like something that would be on History Channel, Mike?
No, it looks exactly like Skinwalker.
Well, that's what I mean. It's on History. Skinwalker is on History Channel, isn't it? Or Sci-Fi, or it's on Sci-Fi. One of the two. Yeah.
Or a Gaia episode, either or.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And more details about that Skywatcher Part 2 coming soon. Let me see if I can get into this. I believe they actually have a description of what's going to be happening in Part 2 coming soon. It's not in this one. Let me go and see if I can find this particular tweet. I know it's out there. Here we go. Part 2, they're going to be introducing new people of the overall group of Skywatcher. They're going to be getting into some of the details and what they're looking for. So here we go. Part 2 update. Well, it's the same one. Thought it was a thread. All right. Our stage. Okay. So part 2 of the video of the interview, an analysis of new UAP data has been completed. It will be released in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The independent analysis of our full data set is in progress. Finally, Skywatcher will be hiring for a few select positions in the coming weeks, and we will be reaching out to you in the coming weeks for applications. So, Mike, I had no idea they're even hiring people for this. So it sounds like they've got some good funding for them. They don't have the same problems that Soul Foundation is running into. This is interesting.
Right. But to do what exactly? See, that still remains to be seen. What exactly are they doing with the money? How come they haven't come forward with one shred of information or evidence to support their case? Nothing. This is what makes it very odd. They want money. They want to hire people.
Well, they're not asking for the public for money at this point.
No,
they
that's
said
true.
they already have all the funding they need.
They do. But again, if they were able to summon these craft down like they claim and be able to take video of it, why is it going through this big production to just simply produce what they claim they can so easily do? I don't understand that part.
I don't
confused.
think anybody understands it at this point, Mike. The story is not clear on them, not even close.
No, but they want to spend endless episodes of this production to show people who they're hiring, the ads they're taking out, the coffee machines they're going to be stocking in the office. I don't know what any of that has to do with the claims they've made so far with disclosure, but that seems to be the path they're on, right, Thomas?
Yeah, it does, and it does, and it's just one of those things you just have to take a look at and just continue to, put it off to the side and say, let's see where it goes. You never know. But there's been a lot of pushback and everything with regards to the whole psi aspect of this, even coming from a lot of people within the community. Before we get there, let's get to Laura Campbell. Your hands up, my dear lady.
Yes, honestly, I'm really hopeful that they produce. If they don't produce, it's going to be really awful. Egg on their face, so to speak. The community needs bread and circus. It's the big splashy, because people are so distracted. They almost need this theatrical thing to capture their attention. So I'm not going to shame them just yet. We can always do that later and see how this unfolds. But I'm anxious to watch it. I haven't been excited about anything I've seen so far up until this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Time will tell. We're both familiar with the area that they're playing in right now. We know that there are fuzzy things out there that we can possibly connect with. Not quite sure if it's going to get down to the Greer mode of communication, but, there's been a lot of interesting changes in the community with regards to this, even from people who are die-hard disclosure folks like Linda Thompson, or also known as Linda Research, over on X. Let me go ahead and bring this up for you, Lori, and share it with you if you don't mind. Let's get this up here. Interview. Where's that? Best. All right. Coming from Linda Thompson, who used to be affiliated with Disclosure Tonight back in the day. Let's bring out what she's saying. She's saying timing is everything, and the timing sucks for disclosure confirmation right now. The film coming out. This is the one from Dan Farah. Has bad timing at present due to administration, political, economic, and social issues. Makes sense. Also, a lot of leaders and individuals have turned away since information about psionics has been leading disclosure news out of not understanding, fear, and concern. I might suggest psionics could put talents to better use, focusing on getting USA straightened up and functioning in a better society rather than bringing in NHI. The people struggling day to day for income, housing, and food in the enslavement society is getting worse thanks to the billionaires. Another reason why true disclosure and confirmation isn't wanted by governments and society leaders. We can do much better focusing on humanity, politics, and governments are halls of mirrors and deception. Your thoughts, Laura? Those are some deep words. I agree with Linda 100%. What say you?
I understand that completely because I've been seeing it around me. Friends losing jobs, lack of people working in industries helping unfortunate people that don't have enough money. So yeah, I see it, but I think I need to just say, even with all of that, we need to uncover these lies that have been happening. And I think that's the base of it all, like a pyramid. You got to get to the lies because that leads to all these other things. Then there's lies within these organizations, money, it all trickles down to the base function of, wow, they're lying about the big things. We're not alone in the universe. They're going to be lying about other things as well. So I think we're able to handle all of that other as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know some people in the audience, AVM is saying Linda is pushing her political agenda now. Let's see where she goes in her next particular piece. I'm into psi, telepathy, and much more. So not the issue. Same with myself. Same with Laura. I want confirmation now. We have disclosure. My points are everyday people are struggling. The bird virus in China has reportedly killed more people than COVID, which I haven't heard that one. That sounds like a misdirection. We need help, progress, peace, etc. Defense contractors, industrialists, billionaires push the war machine, not helping the masses. Our environment is trashed, and we cannot even get people to control trash in their reach, let alone do major things for our planet. So yeah, our planet's kind of in jeopardy right now. I see that, and it's all kind of tied together. But it's still interesting to see Linda coming out and saying how disclosure itself has turned away, to a degree, from disclosure because some of the revelations and the attention potentially put by Ross Coulthart, in other words, on Jake Barber and Skywatcher.
We've always had problems all throughout history, right? So we put disclosure on the back burner. It's been 80 some years. Do we really need to continue to do that? Are we that narrow-minded that we can't absorb all of this? And I think, people might change their attitudes too once they find out or this is let out more and more. Just watch the next few years and see if it doesn't cause more revolution and changing in the way we think about things. Maybe, on every level.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you completely, Laura. Mike, your thoughts on this one?
I think that if you want the general public to take any of this seriously, regardless of what you call it, they're going to need to see hard evidence. They're going to need to see something, not innuendo and speculation like for the past 80 years without anything in particular. If they don't get anything legitimate, they're not going to take anything seriously, not at all. And you're not going to get any public support, and you're not going to get any public involvement. You're not. People want what they want, and if you don't give it to them, then it's not going to move forward.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line with all this.
I'd have to agree
That's
with
where
you
we are.
completely, Mike. It's one of those things we look at. We try to bring together information and talk about it, but it's a cesspool.
A sewer.
A sewer
It's
for that
It's a
matter.
complete sewer. Yes, sir.
Alice W., your hand is up.
Yeah, I'm starting to think at this point that disclosure is more about money than anything else, and how the billionaires make their money with energy and gas and things like that. I think if there was disclosure, we would be aware that there were other ways to create energy, and we wouldn't have to be tied into paying what we do.
Right, but what we've heard from
many.
many people, Alice, who are in the know, we have yet to try and figure out how this technology works. So yes, there's opportunity for free energy and everything else, but if our best scientists haven't been able to figure out how this stuff works, more importantly, how to recreate it for our own use, we're kind of stuck, aren't we?
I think, but I guess you have that on a good word from somebody. I haven't heard that before.
Eric Davis, hell put off. Mike, we've heard that from both of these guys in the past.
Yes, we have, Thomas, very clearly and loudly to the public. They made it clear that with the 80 plus years that this has been being researched, we have, as of yet, to have the material science necessary to try to recreate any of this technology.
Uh-oh, we're losing you,
that
Mike.
we're up against.
We lost the
know if
last
that's me
30
or not.
seconds or so of what you were saying, Mike. You were having some signals dropping.
Yeah, no, that I'll say it again. We are unable to have the material science that we would need to create any of this technology. None. And until we can do that, it's not going to move forward.
Don't we think that Tesla was very close to that at one point?
No.
No, not even close.
No? Okay.
Tesla had his inventions going where he was going ahead and building these things to try and transmit energy. There was actually more energy going into the ground itself than was actually being transmitted in the air. Tesla had a lot of very interesting ideas that some of which came to him through, if you want to call it channeling, on how to do some of this stuff, which may have some greater movements of where it could be. But a lot of where he was at just hasn't gone anywhere, has it, Mike?
Are we talking?
We've lost you again, Mike.
From the turn of the last century? Can you hear me now?
We got you again. Go ahead. Start again.
Hello?
We got you. Go ahead.
All right. Are we talking about Nikola Tesla from the turn of the last century?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's interesting because all of that research that was done by Tesla, when he died, the sitting president's uncle, John Trump, from MIT, had taken all of his research and had access to it, and it's been completely hidden from the public. So it's interesting to me that the sitting president right now is directly related to a key member that had access to information and research like this. I don't know if it's going to spur any actual disclosure coming out because of that, or if it'll have the reverse effect and bury it even deeper. I certainly hope not. But yeah, Tesla, his research was at the time ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But that was over 80 years ago. Where it could be today if they pursued that research, and for all intents and purposes, that research was continued through DARPA.
Yep.
And if they have made progress on it, the public isn't going to know about that. Only within certain members of the government that'll have access to that information. Like the executive branch, right, Thomas?
Well, of course. Well, the executive branch is where everything has been covered up with since going back all the way to Roswell. It's been an executive branch cover-up going for all these years. They went, and after Roswell crash happened, we got the National Security Act, which turned us from the United States of America into the National Security State of America. We can't say this enough times on the show because that's what happened. Then after that, we got, the Air Force. We got the multiple three-letter agencies. And then a couple of years later, we got the Atomic Energy Act. Was it 1952 or 54? 54, the Atomic Energy Act, which basically put in another layer of classification over anything that had anything to do with not just nuclear bombs, but UFOs.
Right. And it prevented it from any type of oversight. It's completely unfoilable under the Department of Energy. And the public isn't going to have a snowball's chance in hell of getting access to that information under that 1954 Atomic Energy Act. And a lot of these
We've lost you again, Mike.
Through the Department of Energy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my signal. Can you hear me now?
We got you again.
Okay. I don't know why it's going in or out.
Not sure. It could be the weather. We've got a lot of wind going here in the Pacific Northwest right now, and weather systems can always cause hell with our cell phones in that matter. Let's go ahead. Atmosphere, absolutely. Now, one thing I wanted to go ahead and follow back on, something we talked about last night, was that Tic Tac on Mars. And Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Based on information, additional images that have come forward, that Tic Tac is about literally the size of a Tic Tac. Let me go ahead and bring up an image on this one, for that matter. Here we go. There is the object. If we've got it, it's showing the actual rover, right?
Yeah.
They're showing the distance on the rover and what's going on and how close this object actually is to the rover, which basically brings out and shows that the Tic Tac is about the size of one of these two rocks and is less than 1 centimeter in size. So clearly this big, huge thing, people were saying, oh my God, this is far in the distance. This is like a Tic Tac like we saw from the Nimitz incident. No, my friends, it's an optical illusion on an object. It's literally, Mike, the size of a Tic Tac.
Yeah. So it's an actual Tic Tac. It's not the UAP Tic Tac.
No. It's literally the size of an actual Tic Tac.
A piece of candy.
A piece of candy that comes in a little plastic container, yes. Alice,
Awesome.
Alice W., your
yeah.
hand is up on this one.
Yeah, I see the shadow underneath of it, even though it's small. Is there any type of atmosphere on Mars that would be able to kick something up into the air?
Yeah, of course there's winds on Mars.
There are. I didn't know.
Yeah. But again, the object is about...
Tiny.
Very tiny.
Yeah.
Teensy weensy. So yes, but if you look at a lot of the objects, all have shadows, including that little object. So it's not something big. It's not like the Tic Tacs that the Nimitz incident had. This is something that is more than likely a small rock that's causing a shadow, and everybody is freaking out about it. And why, Mike? Are they freaking out about it? Because there's nothing going on.
Because disclosure is dead in the water currently. And if there's nothing or no information out there, people are going to make stuff up just to keep it going. It's wishful thinking, basically, on their part.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, you said that Trump was related to somebody, and the Bush.
John Trump. He was the lead scientist from MIT that recovered all of Nikola Tesla's research that he did in his life after he died.
And wasn't there somebody named Preston Bush that was involved in that also?
Yeah, but the person who recovered the research was John Trump.
I'm just saying that a couple presidents' families are kind of related.
Yeah. No, I know, but that's not information that the public is going to know anything about. That was the point. And until we get some movement from the executive branch currently, it's going to stay that way until something breaks. And hopefully it does soon. That's the hope.
Yeah.
Right now, we thought that it was going to happen.
Everybody did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, give it some time. It's not like there's not a lot of shit going on in the White House right now. There's a lot of people working on a lot of fronts. Let's keep our fingers crossed, because it's all we can do now, that the Trump administration will do their usual promises made, promises kept, and bring out the details with regards to the UFOs over the United States. I think it's something that was definitely promised during the campaign. And granted, we want our disclosure and we want it now. Sometimes when there are bigger things going on in the world, it takes a little bit longer to get there. Let's go on to Michael Sokoloff. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to bet that this Tic Tac is not edible, and it has ruined somebody's life.
Good point. I believe you, my friend. Andy W.
That's a cue, Thomas, for your little clip.
Oh, that one. You mean, where did she go again? Where's Miss Pretty at? Oh, let's get to it here. And
okay, these fuckers that fucked my life over.
Nice.
That one?
There you go.
Absolutely. Andy W., your thoughts?
Yeah, I think all of this, what we're going through at the moment, it's kind of like going cold turkey, whether you're quitting the good old alcohol or other substances. We always go through these peaks and troughs in ufology, don't we? We had, a couple of years ago, we had the shoot downs that lasted a few days and everything. And it sort of petered out, went a bit quiet. then we've come back with the orbs, the UFOs, whatever, over the east coast of America, which was really good for the subject. Whether they are or are not the real things, still to be debated. I think now we're in that sort of, not a lot's happening. Everybody's going cold turkey across the board. Researchers, the likes of George Knapp and Corbell and Ross Coulthard, and there's not really a lot happening at the moment. Everybody's sort of trying to keep the ball rolling. I think we're just in that sort of we're in that quiet period again. There's not a lot going on. There'll be stuff coming up in the future. Just that we've got to sort of fight our way through this sort of the doldrums almost in this subject at the moment. We have been blessed in the last few years. It's kind of taken a life of its own, and it's really picked up in the last couple of years because of everything that's gone on. We're suddenly finding, oh my gosh, it is quiet. There is nothing. There's not a lot of sightings being brought out. We just have to get through this period. I'm sure, again, it'll pick up. It may well not be as big as the objects that we've seen in the last couple of months over in the States and here in the UK, captured by our friend Daryl in chat here. It's up to everybody just to keep the confidence up that we're hopeful that something will come out of your government. It's looking a little bit less likely now. We're a couple of months in that they seem to be dragging their feet on everything that's Trump's promised to bring out.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on, from peace in Ukraine to other places. It's not like they don't have their plates full with a lot of stuff they're trying to deal with.
These people in your government are extremely busy. I won't even deny that. So it's what comes at the top of the list. Obviously, for Trump, it is probably peace in Ukraine, and then everything. Hopefully, depending on what happens with the opposite parties in Russia and whatever have you, it's we've just got to hold through and hope that they do start bringing stuff out. So that's kind of where I am. And you got to be hopeful, because if you're not hopeful, what are you? I tend to be a bit of a glass completely empty person myself, but I always try to hold up hope, because what else have you got? So I'm kind of in that sort of frame of mind at the moment. Keep digging away, keep chipping away, and as long as you're not going quiet, then if you go quiet, then they've won completely. If you keep on pushing the subject and keep this out there in the world, the ball will keep rolling. Yeah, that's basically how I feel about.
I hear you, Andy, and I couldn't go ahead, Mike.
Have you ever seen me or Thomas be quiet about anything so far?
Mike, take it from me.
No, not at all. In all the years, and that's commendable. We hear, there's so many people out there getting so disillusioned. Oh, nothing's happening. This, that, and the other. You've got to keep pushing. If you don't keep pushing, then stuff will not come out. And you and Thomas, Mike, you do a great job of digging and finding stuff. And I know people get a bit disillusioned with it. We all do. But there's always that next thing around the corner. It always happens. We've seen it for the last 80 years. We've had all these big stories, going right back to Roswell, then, like the Betty and Barney Hills and everything that's followed on. And it always peaks and troughs.
Well, when we're putting the message out and calling out the bullshit where we see it, which is what we do, it's not that we're against disclosure. We're all for it. But right now, we're pointing out how it's not moving. Nothing is coming out. Nothing seems to be coming forward at the moment. So if people get disillusioned by that, it's the message of what's currently going on. But that doesn't mean that that's written in stone or this is going to become the new norm. This is just the way it is currently, and that's all we're pointing out. Nothing else.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and I think, Kathy says, and we wait and wait and wait. I think we're an awful lot further forward than we were even 5 years ago. We are. There's a lot more information that's come out in the last few years. The age of shows like this, is shows come and go, and you get people build themselves up as experts or whatever in this subject. It does move forward. It may well move slowly, but it is always moving forward. There's always new information coming out. It's up to people like yourselves and our friend Ashes when she's here, just digging and poking away and chipping away. You can knock a mountain down if you've got the time.
That's the problem. That's the other problem. Thomas and I don't have the time. We put in what we can. Right, Thomas?
Yeah, we do, Mike. We put in whatever time we can. And just to say how far we've gone, I think where I'm going all the way back to, this is 2021, I think. I've got a video here I put together when Lou Elizondo actually admitted he was a government contractor. And how have we come far from that? Oh, heck yeah. But I need to play this just because it's something to help set the channel on the direction that we're at and get the attention that we got. Let me go ahead and play this one. Where are we at? Here we go, folks. Let's play it.
I wanted to quell people's conspiratorial thinking. To quell conspiratorial thinking.
And I think you're asking me, I'm employed by the United States government. And I think you're asking me, I'm employed by the United States government. And I'm employed by the United States government. And I think you're asking me, ask that question very carefully, and maybe I can give you a good answer. Are you asking me, am I a government employee, or am I a government employee, or am I a government employee, or am I working as a contractor in that capacity?
Well, it's a clearance question.
Ask that question very carefully.
And the question was...
Ask that question very carefully.
Well, it's a clearance question. If he's a civilian, why does he have a TSSCI clearance?
Because I am currently a government contractor.
And that's exactly what I wanted you to say.
Because I am currently a government contractor. And that's all I'm prepared to say right now. Boom. But I am a government contractor.
And that makes sense. And that's the reason why you have it. And that's exactly what I wanted you to say.
Because I am currently a government contractor.
I know. We got to have fun with this kind of stuff. I brought it up. Why? Because this is what we put out in 2021. And how far have we come since then? Somewhat. We know what Lou has been up to, what's going on. We've gotten a lot of information out of Lou. Things have moved forward, but it seems like we're stuck in a holding pattern over the airport. Ed Brown, what say you?
Well, I'd say that last video gave me a headache going through it. I've got a couple of points I want to make. One is, let's not be discouraged about the fact that things aren't flowing real fast right at this moment, because it gives us the advantage of being able to go back and recap what we've already got. And we firm up the lessons we've already learned and the projections that we've already been given. And I think that's a good thing. So plenty of time to talk about this. Another point I wanted to make, and we talked about this last night about pictures, that you commented, Thomas, that we didn't have a picture from so-and-so. And so if we didn't have a picture from so-and-so, it would be hard to believe. And I think you were, I don't know specifically, but I think you're alluding to why was it that Lou didn't have a camera in his home for 8 years when he was receiving these orbs. We made another comment about if you want to have proof, have something. I know Kaku has said, bring back an ashtray from the ship or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that we don't have evidence is not evidence of a lack of evidence. We just don't.
It's for a lack of intention to collect evidence. It's something we're going to talk about, something that was going on in someone's house for 7 years and the neighbor's houses for 7+ years, because it wasn't one particular location. It was all around a particular area. So in a after show conversation, we did talk about this, Ed. And it was just, for me, if you're going to be having something going on, it's going on around you, and it's happening on a regular basis. If you are an investigator, if you are someone who is an intelligence officer or a counterintelligence officer, and this is the usual trade work of what you're dealing with, if what you're dealing with at your home and you want to gather evidence to be able to figure out what this is, you would think you would get cameras and different stuff up in every particular room, every hallway, and try and gather the evidence you need to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt this is what you've been dealing with. And I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm just saying if you've got something going on in your house for 7 years, where the fuck are the cameras? That's all.
Well, that is a good point. But the counter of that may be that this NHI, which we have no idea what it really is or how much power it really has, we assume it kind of looks at us possibly like we're just an anthill compared to their intelligence. But if it wants to let us know that it exists, it certainly could also want to let us know that it's not going to give us proof.
But if you don't try, you don't know.
Well, I know, but so many people have said they
You can come up with excuses. I mean, excuses can come out either one asshole or the other, for that matter. But you still need to, if you've got something going on, you need to go ahead and just attempt to try and record. We could say that the intelligence is intelligence and they're not going to go ahead and allow you to go ahead and record. Good idea. I believe that. But the thing is, if you don't try, you don't know. And I remember someone, oh God, what was his name? Someone who was living in Massachusetts, and what was Rico's last name? I forget Rico's last name. Anyway, Rico, and he had all of these different orbs that he was picking up, flying through his place. You couldn't see them with your eyes, but they were there flying around his apartment where he lived in numbers, and they were moving along, stretching out to show entities within them for a frame and then shrinking back down, going alongside of it. And the evidence that Rico had put out was phenomenal. And all it took was someone seeing something and then going out and saying, wow, I've got these things going on where I'm living. I need to go ahead and literally wreaking havoc. Yeah, thank you very much, Metal Gaming.
One other point I want to make is that, again, you don't have the specific evidence and you have to take it on faith or belief or whatever. And I know you have said many times that you don't need another religion with UFOs, but in a way, there is a religious aspect to this. In this regard,
it's consciousness, and you can't tie consciousness specifically to religion. While there was a link up between contacting potentially dead people and the non-human intelligence, and it's coming in through that same channel for some people, it doesn't say there's a religious part to it, but there's a consciousness aspect to it. And people want to take something with take consciousness, put the spirituality into it, and then tie it into religion. That's where things get lost.
But the point is, you either believe, right now, you either believe or you don't believe. If I ask you, Thomas, do you believe in UFOs? Your answer would be, yes, I believe.
No, I don't believe in them. I know they're real. There's a difference between believing, and believing goes down to the Easter Bunny, to Santa Claus, and to a lot of things that are presented to us in religion.
Then what do you say to people that tell you that they don't believe they're real or they don't believe in them? What do you say to those people?
Well, apparently you need to present better facts to them to help them understand where it's at, to help them deliver and understand the truth about the scenario, not about believing in something. And trust me, the last thing you don't want to do is believe in something. You want to either know it's real or know it's not real. There's a difference between believability and factual interpretation. That's why one of the issues we have right now is that there's a lot of trust me, bro, conversations going out from people in Washington for over 2 hours in the new movie that's coming out from Dan Farah, The Age of Disclosure. There's no evidence put forward, just a lot of testimony. And we need to get beyond testimony. We need to be able to bring out evidence that in a public court of opinion, which is not me or you because we're kind of jaded from what we know. Take it to the average Joe, the average citizen that are out there. Show them the facts, not just the testimony, and that's what we need to move this forward. But it's the lack of actual facts, the lack of hard evidence that can be used to go ahead and deliver disclosure to the masses, so people aren't believing in disclosure. People are knowing about disclosure.
Well, I think it's kind of like a court case, too. You kind of, I think, alluded to that. In that, in a criminal case, it's belief beyond the shadow of doubt, whereas in a civil case, it's preponderance of evidence. And there's a lot of people that say, "Well, I believe without the evidence, without the specifics, without." You or argue with you on this, but we will agree that there are some people that are now over the hump and believe or know that they're real, and there are some people that don't even begin to think that there's any truth to it at all.
Because what we're missing is the evidence. It can be the physical evidence, whether it's videos or photos or actual pieces of craft or biological entities or living entities, whatever it is. We need that factual evidence. Or, for instance, they've said many times before that there is a UFO, a triangular UFO that surfaced next to an aircraft carrier, right? And then it shot up instantaneously and it was gone. Now, both Lou Elizondo and I believe it was Christopher Mellon have said that what's been shown in that does not go and pull back from our ability to share it, because it's not like we could be hiding, if you want to call it confidential, top secret information with regards to this coming on. You could easily mask the different information, where it's at specifically, what technical systems are recording it, to actually take the videos. And there's no reason other than it's showing a UFO the size of a football field in a triangular shape raising out of the water and shooting up into the sky. We just need the evidence of that. We need the videos, the recording, some sensors and everything else to be able to be brought forward. And if we drop that in a package for the general public, those are facts that people can look at to go ahead and determine for themselves whether they're going to believe it or not.
It seems there's a reasonable number of photographs and videos that ought to be convincing. And there's also more than that probably that have been confiscated by the government, that have been provided by, experts in the subject. The one I'm thinking about is the Holloman incident. I forgot the astronaut's name.
Yeah, but the Holloman incident, actually, when there was a high-resolution video of that was released, showed it was actually a jet fighter coming in and landing, and it wasn't a UFO.
Well, it was Gordon Cooper was the astronaut. Are you telling me that Gordon Cooper, an astronaut, does not know the difference between a UFO and an airplane?
I would say what he saw was that, but what the video, what they showed was something else.
Well, then did they swap it out? Because he clearly said what he saw was not from this earth. And talk about material.
Yeah, I would say they swapped it out, yeah. Because he said that information, they took all their videos, everything that they had, it was then taken, put in a package, delivered to someone, and they flew off with it, and they never saw it again. So the video that we have probably is not of that incident, because that was the one Linton Moulton Howell was showing and everything for a period of time of that UFO coming in and landing. But when the high resolution one actually came out, it showed that wasn't it. So we had a video that was purported as the one of the Holloman incident, which I'm not saying I believe the astronaut who was talking about it, but the video we had that linked up to it was something else that was slipped in, probably to confuse the public.
Well, and that ought to make us believe even more the fact that someone went to that much trouble to obfuscate what was being done, and the government swapped it out for a different one. That ought to make us believe even more.
It makes you believe, but the truth of the matter is we still don't have that original video as evidence to show it to the public. We can say that, look at this, they showed us a fake video. There's a real one out there.
Yeah.
Prove it to me.
We talked, so many of those videos and so many of those pictures seem convincing, but if that's not convincing, you're talking material. What about the stuff that Gary Nolan says they did isotopes on it, and it's not an isotope that we could produce in this current technology?
Well, before even Gary Nolan got to it, Hal Puthoff had done research on this and basically said, I believe we had even Eric Davis talking about this, where Hal Puthoff recently said, yes, you know, these were things that were created where they're laying it down on an atomic level of one on top of another on top of another. And if you were to create something that would be a millimeter by a millimeter in size, it would take you 10 years to create it and cost hundreds of millions of dollars to get there. But then beyond that, Hal Puthoff came out and said recently that they tried to reproduce it, but they couldn't get the layers of the atomic sheets that they were laying down with our current material science to go ahead and actually adhere to each other. So, and what they've been saying is we understand how some of this works, but what we lack is the material science necessary to recreate it as humans.
You just made my point. So we do have material evidence. We have material evidence. Now, not everybody's going to have their hands on it. They're not going to be able to touch it. But we do have material evidence in these labs that we cannot produce on Earth that had to have been produced by an intelligent society somewhere other than here. Yeah. Therefore, disclosure has occurred.
And what they've said is potentially in order to go ahead and lay down these sheets and get them to adhere, you need to go ahead and do this in zero gravity, which is well beyond our capability because we would have to send this stuff up to the moon or potentially, which has gravity, or send it up into space to try and create it. Again, something is beyond the capability and scope of humanity at this point in time. No matter how advanced we think we are, it's beyond our capabilities.
I think there will be some that even if the proverbial spaceship landed on the White House lawn and was broadcast on every television network, there would still be a large number of people in America that say they faked it. They faked that image. It did not land there. You know, I know.
But here's the thing. You bring it on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, out in the public venue, where you have potentially thousands of people with cell phones all recording it as it's going on, just like what we had with the incident with all of the orbs that they thought they saw off of Tijuana and San Diego. Turned out to be our Navy going ahead and dropping flares, right? But there were so many videos of this event from all over the place that shows you that the proliferation of technology we have today for humans, we can bring out a cell phone, we have this, and we can record all this stuff. If a UFO were to come down in a place where everybody could record it and then share it, the court of public opinion would be swayed because it's not like one video that was created and they're saying, well, look, here's proof of UFOs. No, there could be hundreds, if not thousands of videos of this same event from different angles, different perspectives from humans that actually wanted to go ahead and share it. And if we get an event like that, there's no way with all of the cameras we have on cell phones, with all the footage we would get, that people could say all of these people faked it.
Well, I agree. And I'll leave you this thought because I know there's other people with their hands up.
Ed, I'm loving this conversation. It's golden.
I'll leave you with this thought. I don't think the NHI is allowing that to happen. That's what I think. I think they want to dribble little things at us. Let us see these movements in the sky. Let us see some of the material from some of the sites. And they specifically do not want a picture-perfect landing on the White House lawn with thousands of people taking photographs of it. That's what's stopping that. You know, it's kind of like when I had the orb in my house, and I said, and Daryl's asked me about this several times. You know, could you take a picture of it? Could you do this? Could you do that? My first instinct was not to take a picture of it. My first instinct was to reach up and touch it. And I guess in retrospect, I'm glad I didn't, because that could have had
But that's the first time. Give yourselves 7 years of interacting with this object, Ed. You would try to push it forward, push it forward, push it forward. How can I record this? How can I get it there? How can I interact with it? And it's not just one house, one individual. It's a household with a husband, a wife, and multiple kids, right? And other houses in the same neighborhood where it's all going on. And everybody there is just covering their eyes and ears and not talking about it.
And my explanation would apply to that too. NHI did not want that level of confirmation.
And that could go there if they tried to record it and it prevented them from getting the recording. I would believe that 100%. If they had tried in all these different instances, we tried this, we did this, and all these different things, we got nothing. That's where your situation would make absolute sense. But if you don't try, you don't know.
You've also heard examples of people that have filmed things. I think it was one of the astronauts filmed something. When they came back, they developed the film and it was all whited out.
Well, the last time I had a UFO flying here, I was talking with LM, rest his soul. And I jumped off the phone with him because I saw one of the usual orbs moving in the same direction, except this one was whitish greenish and not same golden color. And actually, as I was getting out there and trying to get my phone up and trying to record it, I had something buzz right past me. I thought it was a moth. But then when I went and I looked at the video afterwards, I had a green freaking orb, relatively small, flying right past me, which basically brought it into, and I've shown this video and images of this before, what I had was I was trying to record something up in the sky. I had something down at my level checking me out as I was checking it out, and it didn't stop me from recording it or sharing it. I think it wants us to know, but it wants us to actually interact with it in a way that's on its terms, not ours.
Well, that's probably true, because we have no control to force it to do anything. Them, they, he, she, whichever it is.
Bingo. And it's not like we're dealing with dolphins or killer whales in an aquarium where we can call them to go ahead and give us a show that we're going to go ahead and give it for the audience time and time again. This is something that's a highly advanced civilization, and if we think we can go ahead and command them and bring them in on a regular basis, they've got a good story coming to them.
And they could be teasing us, like putting something out there and seeing how we react to it and then pulling back. Before we have a chance to have that proof that we're looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it with that position. I think they are controlling when they can be seen and when they can't be seen. And I think they are avoiding permanent or complete disclosure.
They hide from us on a regular basis. They know what our visual spectrum is, and they operate outside of the visual spectrum of humans for a reason. They want to hide from us. They're very deceptive in what they do. Right?
I agree. Well, thanks for letting me share my thoughts with you.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate that. Let's go on to Alice W. next.
Yeah, I have a couple things because it took a little time to get there to here. So the first one I was going to say was there's a lot of people on Earth that claim to have ongoing relationships with aliens. Whether it be somebody like Courtney Brown, Farsight.
Yeah.
And yet, when he does his show, it's like, oh, but they're invisible. It's a.
Well, it's not that they're invisible. You cannot detect them. You cannot visually see them, and you need specialized equipment in order to go ahead and observe them. Like we have, what was his name again? Dave Mason, who lives in Woodinville, Washington, about 15 minutes from where I'm at. He's recorded UFOs flying over his house using a $12,000 or $13,000 camera from Fluke. I think it was Fluke, that actually has the ability to see down to -60 degrees, right? Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. And if you can look at that. You've got UFOs that are flying in the sky. They don't show up on passive radar. They don't show up on EM. They don't show up on visual. But if you've got a camera that's $14,000, which not a lot of people have, and you're looking up, you can actually see these chevron shaped, which is like a V-shaped craft, following right along with our airplanes, our commercial jetliners. Some of them moving along in concise movements with them. They actually have an orb moving lockstep with them. And why are they going ahead and following along our commercial airliners? Well, there's probably some kind of a reason that they're following behind it, because they are being shielded by the overall radar signature. And if they're moving along, it's a way for them to make sure they're not going to get detected. So they're aware clearly of the capabilities of what humanity is, and they're doing whatever they can to hide themselves for their regular activities that they're going through that we're unaware of.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the subject. I love the subject. I'm still skeptical, though, because I haven't seen it with my eyes in front of me. And with the advent of AI, we can't really believe anything we see on a screen anymore, because it can be creative, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that it's real.
Right.
And another thing, following up on Ed, with these substrates or substances he's talking about, because I don't understand the technology, that wouldn't prove it to me. You see, they might show me this thing and say, well, we can't make this on Earth.
But if you've had a UFO, if you've had an orb coming into your house for the last 7 years, you would think you'd try and record it one way or the other, right? To try and catch it. Yeah. Just makes sense, doesn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. I actually have recorded orbs at a haunted house. We talked about this before. And they were yellow, and I asked them to change color, and they changed to blue.
Oh, wow.
So I had some interesting experiences with it.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
I still want to believe.
Let's move on, if we could. Sergeant Daniel, your hand is up, my dear friend.
Yeah, so, we got a bunch of different types of truths. And if you listen to them, like she brought up Courtney Brown, he has his truth. And if his truth is right, well, then Lou Elizondo is completely wrong. If Lou's right, then what's his name? Then the other guy who sees him all the time brings him in, the religious guy. I can't think of his name. Anyway,
Greer?
No, yeah, well, no. If his truth's right, there's no abductions, right? And he swears by that. And if the guy in Israel's right, who divulged it, then we're on Mars. We're flying all over the place. So what I'm saying is they're all over the place. Like they all have their own truth. Everybody has their own religion. Like Courtney Brown, he says there's good ETs and bad ETs, and then, Chris Bledsoe is another one. He has his religion. And then if you
all the UFOs of God, yeah. And if the way you look at it, some of this stuff, to a degree, Sergeant Daniel, is there is no good or not bad. These aliens are so alien to humanity. There is no emotion of good or bad. They are just what they are, and we may perceive them as good or bad, but the reality is they are just what they are.
But they all have their own religion. They all believe wholeheartedly that they're right. Stephen Greer, if he's right, well then, anybody who's had an abduction is completely wrong. So you're putting everybody at odds all the time. And if Chris Bledsoe's right, they're all angels flying around, and they're going to save the world. So, or destroy the world, either way. But it seems like there, just as many ideas, but everybody has their own truth, and they're sure. Courtney Brown, he's talking invisible aliens. Like I said, it just seems pretty odd that they're all completely convinced. They all have, and then you have the nuts and bolts.
We've got a schmuck down in Marina Del Rey, California, who's recording insects at 4K at 60 frames a second or 120 frames a second on Panasonic cameras, and it's insects with wings, and he calls these things dragons.
Right.
And what
then you
we're
have that
seeing in the
Herrera
sky
guy.
are all these dragons that are actually UAP, when in reality, he's actually recording insects that are flying around in that area.
And Herrera's account is completely opposite of what Eric Davis says. And, you know, I mean, the Marine looks like he's telling the truth. But,
well, you know, Herrera's claims are, trust me, bro.
Exactly. But, I mean, they're completely opposite of one another. So it's like you can spin a wheel and say, okay, which one's true? You know, can Stephen Greer bring in stuff, orbs? Probably. Can Chris Bledsoe? Probably. And then everybody else can, you know, see all sorts of different stuff. And, you know, it's just, I think like I think Ed brought out, I really think that this is the way it's going to come out. And this is the most intelligent way it's going to come out, slowly, or the way it's not going to make us all go crazy. I don't have the same confidence that everybody else has in the human population.
I would have to say the only way we're going to move forward on this, Sergeant Daniel, is with catastrophic disclosure.
I do, but I think
the slow drip of things is just going to go on, and people aren't going to believe it. Just come out and freaking deliver the truth, and let us get shocked for over the weekend. Deliver to the truth on a Friday, and by the time Monday comes along, we're all going to be in a zombie mode, going back to work.
You got a lot of crazy people like that lady. You know, that lady you showed earlier. I mean, she's not going to be able to handle it. It's just fucking advice, right?
Okay, these fuckers have fucked my life over.
But you know what? She'll get over it.
I don't know. She'll be taking all the toilet paper. We'll be wiping with leaves.
Well, there we go. That'll help the people selling toilet paper. I tell you, let's go on to Michael Sokoloff. Your hand is up, my friend.
Yeah, well, you know, we can't ignore the Phoenix Lights is one of these instances where thousands of people saw UFOs right above them. One guy said that this triangle was so big that we could have landed all of our B-52 bombers on it.
Right. However, when that craft was out there, Michael, there was nothing showing that it was obscuring the sky above, which could have meant it could have been a lot of individual ships, not necessarily one huge one.
Well, they proved that to not be true. Then there's the UFOs over Washington, D.C. in 1952.
52, yeah.
You know, these.
What about all the UFOs that were coming over Los Alamos National Labs in the late 40s, early 50s? There were over 200 that showed up in a month.
Now, the other thing about disclosure is I know for a fact that no one will ever be able to convince me that UFOs are fake, because I've seen them. I've seen them move. I've seen them take off.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've seen the lights. There's just no way that these come from planet Earth. There's no way.
Or they could be from Earth, but they're from a most advanced civilization that we're just not aware of.
What, here on Earth?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
They could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years more advanced than we are. They could be from someplace else, but they could have been here a lot longer than humans have been on this planet. Just like right now, we're taking mice, right? And we're taking mice and we're modifying their skin cells, turning them into brain cells that mimic a specific part of the human genome, injecting those cells into the brain of mice, and coming up with a new breed of mice where they've got these modifications that were made to the brain that were only done when they could do it in a laboratory to get there to bring this forward. They've also gone ahead and taken mice in the last couple of weeks that came out and injected a gene in them that is part of their DNA that went ahead and made them be the same type of woolly.
The woolly mice.
The woolly mice. Instead of a woolly mammoth, we got woolly mice. So we have to look back and say, look at all these modifications we're doing to living organisms on our planet today. How can we say that an advanced civilization wasn't here 100,000 years ago and did the same thing to create humans?
Because there's no evidence.
Well, apparently, we need to look in the junk DNA, Michael, because the evidence is there.
There's no junk DNA.
Oh God, there is a ton of junk DNA within the human genome, and that's what we've been told by very important people who are very high up, right, Mike?
Yeah,
remember that conversation?
That has changed over the years.
Mike, no, this isn't a conversation we've had in the last year or so. Mike, can I pull you into this one? Are you there?
Yes, sir, right here.
Remember the conversation we had with Lou about junk DNA?
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago, but the answers are for the involvement of a non-human intelligence. It's in our junk DNA, and that's where we need to look.
All I'm saying, Thomas, is they don't call it junk DNA anymore because they've discovered what it does.
Irrespective of what people are calling it,
right?
That part of the DNA that's not there, that's not part of our active DNA, that Lou Elizondo referred to as junk DNA, right?
Yeah, it's just that it's a term that isn't used by some scientists anymore.
Well, some scientists, they can kiss my ass for that matter. I'm just talking about people who are in disclosure that said if you want to find the evidence as far as us being created from a non-human intelligence, that answer's in our junk DNA. Let's move on.
We have a lot of hands up. Yeah.
Let's get to Andrew Donnelly, all the way from Ireland. Andrew, thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Again, no, I have to push back. I mean, this idea, Thomas, that we can't get beyond the millimeter by millimeter or whatever, we can't produce that. When it comes to NHI, I don't think we're that far away from that technological feat. Based upon what we can do, you're talking about on the atomic scale, we're already building on the atomic scale. We're already doing that. Now, the only pushback that I would see is we're going down to the Planck scale. And that's where energy really is. So if we're building on the atomic scale, we're building structures on the atomic scale, well, that's okay, we're already doing that there. But beyond the atomic scale, then you have the Planck scale. The fact that NHI technology is beyond what we're currently doing, those strides are being done. Those strides, I mean, at the same time, there's a war going on between the Chinese and the West and the United States on how we actually get down to that scale. The fact that NHI technology, I do not think that we're that far away from NHI technology. And it's not that far away. But on this show, I would see yourself, you would claim that that is impossible. In my opinion, I don't think so. But I'll throw it back there, tell you.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that insight. Let's move on to Tia.
Hi. So I wanted to say to, I think it was Sergeant Daniel, that there's people have difference of opinions on what this one is or what that one is. We know from certain people that have said there's more than just one. There's more than two. There's more than three. There's more than 5 different species. Imagine how many there are that they don't know about. And each one of them have their own culture and their own way of being. They're not human. So to judge them on a good and bad scale, the way that we would judge ourselves, that's human, and we shouldn't do that because they're not human. But reptiles on this earth live different than mammals, just like amphibians live different than marine life. I mean, everyone has its own value, right? So I don't think any of them are lying. So not the big hitters. I don't think so. Even Stephen Greer came out with truth because he wanted to tell people things that had happened to him.
Oh, Stephen Greer has not come out as gay yet. He's closeted, for that matter. Saying he came out as not accurate.
I'm talking about when he first came out, like many, many years ago. You know, I don't think when everybody comes out, that everybody comes out, they wanting to tell the truth, most of them. Okay. And I'm not saying people aren't lying, but that's just like humans. There's white, there's black, Chinese, Vietnamese. I mean, all different kinds of human. And then you got to go on to fauna, right? And then mushrooms and things, bacteria, viruses, all of that stuff exists on Earth. It exists on other planets too. Imagine all the things there that we don't know. I think it's so far beyond the capability of humans, because we're such black and white creatures, that we just accuse each other of grifting or being liars, and I think it's wrong in this space, because we really have no idea. And the ones that do have some idea, I think we shouldn't throw them under the bus all the time. I see a lot of that. And that's why a lot of people don't come out anymore. I wouldn't want to come out. So that's my opinion.
Well, coming out and being honest with yourself, which we both have, Tia. I have a husband, you have a wife. For that matter, it's something we both deal with, and it's just a reality of the situation we all go through. And what we've kind of seen from people like Greer and others, they've come out with regards to their information about UFOs, but other stuff that they have that have come out there, they're still in the closet, for that matter. Let's move on to Ed Brown. Ed, what say you?
Well, I'd just like to make a comment. I'm not coming out tonight, but I would like to tell you that I think Mike is going to say something here in a minute. You're going to say it's time to put a plug in this, and Mike's going to say, yeah, it's time to end it. We had a great show, great discussion. And it all started because we started with a nothing burger. We had nothing at all to talk about in Disclosure. There was nothing going on. And I came on and said, all we have to do is share this time and reflect what we already know, where we're already going. And I think we've done an excellent job of doing that tonight, because that was a lively discussion that we just had.
It was a great discussion, my friend. Absolutely. I would agree with you 100%. Mike, what do you think?
I agree with Ed. I think he's absolutely right. I think he knows the routine very well, just like you and I do. And he's right. It was a lively discussion. We started out with a big nothing burger, because right now, currently, Disclosure is very quiet, like a morgue. And it is way past our running time, so we're...
Oh, wait a second. Our audience wants to see the fake UFO that's out there, the fiberglass UFO. And I did have a video clip of this up earlier. I'm not sure what I did with it, not that one. But yes, apparently, let me see if I can find this really quick. I'll just deal with it on the image I've got up here. Yes, there was a UFO that was reported on Twitter. Let me go ahead. No, not that one. Where is it at? No, not that one. Yeah, this works. All right, let's get into it. So there's an alleged crashed UFO that showed up on Twitter the other day. And you've got the overall quote-unquote UFO that was there. And you've got another picture was lighted up a little bit more. And people have done different things going and looking at it. More importantly, as they get into, let me get into the part of the UFO. Look, Mike, the fiberglass casing of the UFO broke, and there's something inside.
Amazing. It's really amazing job.
Yeah.
With something like that.
And something like this, when you have things going on, no, my friends, what you're looking at is something that's definitely not a UFO. It's something that's interesting. But to go ahead and say what we've got going on here is a UFO that crashed somewhere on the East Coast, I don't think so.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
But Alice suggests we should put a survey up before we close the show out.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
What's the survey, Mike?
Alice, would you like to offer your opinion on what we should put up?
I got to find the window that has the chat in it.
I'm wondering if our audience would believe something they see on screen for Disclosure, or would it have to be right in front of them?
All right.
We can do that.
Start a poll. UFO disclosure is the question, ... Let's say something I need to see for myself in person. I'm willing to accept from hundreds of individuals sharing the content. All right. Really, I can't do it for this long. Something I need to see for myself in person. I'll accept from individuals. Where's it at?
Oh, I'll believe what people tell me about it.
There we go. Why won't this work? There we go. All right, so we do have a survey up, Mike. UFO disclosure, something I need to see for myself. The next option is something I need, I'll believe what people tell me, or none of the above. Let's go ahead and see where this goes ahead and takes us, my friends. Let me go ahead and bring up the sound effect of the, where's it at?
Well, let's poll the back chat while we're waiting for the results.
Well, let me go ahead and bring this up. Give me a second here, Mike. All right, let's get to document full guest. All right. UFO disclosure. Is it something I need to it's something I need to see for myself? Where did that go? Come on. Here we go. Something I need to see for myself. 44% of our audience. I believe what people will tell me is 14% of the audience, and 41% of the audience is saying none of the above, Mike. Okay, Google, set a timer for 1 minute, please. Okay, let's just go for 1 minute longer.
1 minute.
All right, Mike, where would you vote?
Oh, obviously, I would need to see it for myself, Thomas, for it to be actual disclosure.
Andy, where would you vote? Quickly.
I'll see it for myself, but I have already seen it for myself. So
right, Corporal Abe, where would you be?
I've seen it, and I've read reports. Other people who I consider credible have told me as well.
Right. Let's move on to Ed. Ed, where would you be?
Something I need to see for myself.
All right, Michael Sokoloff, what say you?
Something I've seen for myself.
Something I need to see for myself. And Alice W., last person. Where would you vote on this one?
See it for myself, right?
Yeah, well, apparently that seems to be the most positive comment coming back as something I need to see for myself. But if we did have hundreds of people going in and recording and showing the same information, Alice, would that be good for you?
Yes, but I'm wondering, didn't we have that with the battle over LA? There was a lot of...
But there was, there were a lot of people who saw it, but there was no, I'm talking about, what, you know, basically you need to have hundreds, if not thousands of people recording video evidence and sharing it with you. That's where I'm at. If you have an event that happens and it's a mass event and you have all of these people out there to go ahead and record it and share it, I'd be more likely to believe that than just one person recording a UFO over a major city and saying, look at what I've got. I got a UFO. And it's like, where the fuck are all the other people out there who recorded this? Why didn't anybody else see it in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who live like over New York, right, Mike?
Oh, absolutely, Thomas. Look, if we had live news crews filming an object up close and personal, like few feet away, and is saying live on the air, what the fuck is this thing? I would tend to believe that as being real.
How about hundreds of people on Facebook Live and YouTube live streaming what they're recording live? Would that work for you? Or do you have to deal with the lamestream media to believe it?
I would just need something that's credible and widespread that you can't deny.
Yeah.
That's all.
Hundreds of people videoing and recording the same thing would work for you, right?
Right.
Yeah. Same here, my friend. So 49% of our audience said that something I would need to see for myself, but it sounds like if we had a lot of people out there all recording the same thing, it sounds like that would be believable, Mike.
Right. Because they need to see something that can't be disputed.
Exactly.
That's all we've been asking for the past 80 years in running.
That's what we all have been asking for, my friend. It's something we never get, do we?
Not yet. Not so far.
No,
We've
my
gotten so
friend.
close with the Arizona, what was that, the Phoenix lights? And then with the drones, we've had so many videos of drones at this point.
Well, a lot of the videos of the drones that came out, Alice, were actually just regular aircraft. There were a lot of good videos of drones that came out, but a lot of the videos that were out there were also of regular mundane things.
Right. I do understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go ahead and thank everybody for coming in tonight and supporting Disclosure tonight for what we do here on a regular basis. First of all, I want to thank Ash is on air. Thank you very dropping by. We missed you today, Ashley. Wish you were in the back. Anonymous Rex, Shelley Montgomery, Liberty Astro UK, not once but twice. David Williams. Thank you very much for all your love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure tonight. More importantly, I want to thank everybody in the chat and everybody from the back. Mike, any last words from your perspective?
I think it's pretty simple as far as what it's going to take for actual disclosure to be accepted by the general public. And we're going to need to see something real.
Yeah.
Or confirmed from the executive branch on a worldwide public statement, an address, an official notification. I'll take that too.
You better believe it, my friend. And Mike, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone, but
go back to Party City where you belong.
absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. I'll come back now here. See you soon. Bye-bye.